Among monsters and beasts, I was never meant to blend in. I was born to rule. I am DKing Saad. And welcome to the DKing Combat Podcast. There's a version of you, a dangerous version, disciplined, focused, powerful, calm under pressure, physically capable, mentally sharp, financially strong, spiritually grounded, respected when he walks into a room, a man who keeps his word, a man who protects his family, a man who does not panic when life becomes difficult, a man who does not fold under stress, a man who moves with purpose. That version of you already exists, not physically, but as potential. And every single day, you either move closer to Him or further away from Him. That's the real war most people never talk about. Not you versus the world, you versus the person you were supposed to become. Because deep down, most people already know what they need to do. They know they should train harder. They know they should stop wasting time. They know they should fix their habits. They know they should build discipline. They know they should stop escaping reality. But instead, they negotiate with weakness. I'll start next week. I'm tired today. I need motivation first. Maybe later. Life is stressful right now. All these excuses, all of them. And slowly, years disappear. Potential disappears. Identity disappears. Until one day, they wake up trapped inside a life they secretly hate. That's one of the darkest feelings a man can experience. Knowing you betrayed your own potential, not because you lacked talent, but because you kept delaying transformation. And let me tell you something dangerous about life. Time does not care about your excuses. Time keeps moving. Whether you are disciplined or distracted, whether you're building or wasting yourself, whether you are evolving or decaying, the clock keeps moving. And eventually, you either become someone you respect or someone you regret. That's why modern distraction is so deadly, because distraction doesn't feel dangerous in the moment. Scrolling feels harmless, skipping training feels harmless, sleeping over goals feels harmless, avoiding difficult conversations feels harmless, but repeated weakness becomes identity. That's how men slowly destroy themselves. Not through one catastrophic event, but through daily betrayal. Small betrayals, repeated over years. You skip one workout, then another, then another. You delay one opportunity, then another, then another. You stay silent once when you should have spoken. Then again, until hesitation becomes your personality. And that's terrifying because humans adopt to everything, even mediocrity, especially mediocrity. The scary part about being average is that average slowly starts feeling comfortable. That's why so many people stay stuck, not because they can't grow, but because they adjust to living beneath their true potential. They normalized weakness, normalized excuses, normalized emotional instability, normalized being broke, normalized lack of discipline, normalized quitting. And the moment someone tries to escape that mindset, the world attacks them. You ever notice that? Have you? The second you become serious, people become uncomfortable. The second you start improving, people call you too much. The second you become disciplined, people accuse you of changing. Of course, you changed. That's the point. Growth requires separation. You cannot evolve while staying attached to old habits, old environments, and old mentalities. Sometimes the hardest part of transformation is accepting that the old version of you must die. Not physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. The weak habits must die. The weak mindset must die. The lazy identity must die. The victim mentality must die. Because two versions of you cannot dominate at the same time. Either the disciplined version leads or the weak version does. That's why identity matters more than motivation. Motivation is emotional. You understand? Identity is structural. When a man truly changes his identity, his behavior changes automatically. A weak man asks, how do I stay motivated? A dangerous man asks, who do I need to become? The question, this one question changes everything. Because once identity shifts, discipline stops feeling like punishment. Training becomes natural. Learning becomes natural. Growth becomes natural. Pressure becomes necessary. That's why warriors throughout history lived differently. They understood something modern society forgot. Comfort weakens the spirit. Pressure sharpens it. Think about it. The strongest people you know usually suffered. They went through pain, loss, pressure, responsibility, failure, and somehow, instead of becoming victims, they became stronger. Why? Have you ever asked this question? Why? Because adversity reveals character, and modern society is trying to remove adversity from life completely. Everything is becoming easier. Easier food, easier entertainment, easier validation, easier shortcuts, easier escape routes. But easier doesn't mean better. A sword is forged through heat, not comfort. And men are no different. That's why difficult experiences often creates powerful individuals. Combat training, business pressure, fatherhood, leadership, responsibility, loss. These things either break a man or forge him. The difference is mindset. Weak men ask, why is this happening to me? Strong men ask, what is this teaching me? Same scenario, different mindset. That single shift changes destiny. Because life will test everyone eventually. Everyone. No exceptions. And when life tests you, your habits answer for you, not your intentions. That's why discipline is one of the highest forms of self respect. When you train consistently, you are telling yourself, my future matters. When you study consistently, you are telling yourself, my growth matters. When you control your emotions, you are telling yourself, my mind belongs to me. That's real power. Not fake online status, not pretending to be alpha, not loud confidence. Real power is internal control. A man who controls himself becomes difficult to manipulate, and the world profits from weak minds. That's the truth many people avoid. Weak minds buy impulsively. Weak minds react emotionally. Weak minds seek validation constantly. Weak minds follow crowds blindly. But a disciplined mind, that becomes dangerous. Because disciplined people are difficult to control. That's why independent thinking matters so much. You need moments alone, not loneliness. Don't take it wrong. Not loneliness, solitude. There's a difference. Loneliness weakens people, solitude builds them because solitude allows reflection. You begin analyzing your life honestly, your habits, your direction, your weaknesses, your environment, and sometimes that reflections become painful. You realize certain people are slowing you down. You realize some habits are destroying your future. You realize some goals were too small for your potential. That awareness hurts. But awareness is in the beginning of transformation. It's just the beginning, it's not the end. Most people avoid self awareness because it destroys illusions. And people love to live in illusion. But illusions never build greatness. Truth does. Even painful truth. That's why you must become brutally honest with yourself. Ask yourself, who are you becoming? Not who you pretend to be, not who you post online. Who are you becoming daily through your actions? Because actions create identity, not words. Everybody talks about becoming dangerous. Few people build that habit which required to be dangerous. Everybody wants confidence. Few people embrace pressure long enough to earn it. Everybody wants respect. Few people become respectable. And that's why discipline separates people. Because discipline is difficult, but difficulty creates value. You know what's interesting? Most men today are physically alive, but spiritually exhausted. No fire, no mission, no direction, no edge, just surviving, repeating routines, waiting for weekends, escaping through entertainment, existing instead of living. That's not how men are built. Men need purpose. Without purpose, energy collapses. That's why direction matters more than motivation. A man with direction can survive hard seasons. A man without direction gets destroyed by comfort. And purpose does not always arrive magically. Sometimes purpose is built through actions, through movement, through responsibility, through becoming useful. That's why training changes lives. The gym teaches discipline, combat teaches composure, business teaches resilience, leadership teaches sacrifice, pressure creates growth. I keep saying that, I keep repeating that in almost all my podcasts that pressure creates growth. Avoiding pressure creates stagnation. That's why your future depends heavily on what you tolerate today. If you tolerate weakness today, you strengthen weakness tomorrow. If you tolerate laziness today, you strengthen laziness tomorrow. If you tolerate excuses today, you strengthen excuses tomorrow. Standards shape destiny, and standards must be enforced internally. Nobody can do it for you. Okay? Nobody can go train for you. Nobody can go build muscles for you. Not your friends, not your family, not motivation videos, not podcasts. At the end of the day, you yourself must decide who you become. That's the responsibility of adulthood. Self construction. Building yourself intentionally. Most people never do that. They drift through life reacting emotionally to circumstances. But dangerous individuals operate differently. They design themselves piece by piece, habit by habit, decision by decision, standard by standard. That's why transformation takes time. Not because change is impossible, but because identity reconstruction is slow. You are literally rebuilding yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And during that process, there will be moments where nobody understands you. We all been to that place if you are building yourself. There'll be times when nobody will get what you are doing. Moments where progress feels invisible. Moments where doubt appears. Keep going anyway. Because one day, the disciplined version of you finally catches up. And suddenly, people call you gifted. They call you lucky. They call you naturally confident. But they never saw the years of internal war, the sacrifices, the isolation, the rebuilding process, the pressure, the consistency. Greatness always looks simple from outside, but internally, it was untrue warfare. And maybe that's the biggest lesson of all. Your greatest enemy was never the world, it was your weaker self, the distracted self, the fearful self, the lazy self, the undisciplined self. Defeat that version, and the world changes. Because once a man becomes aligned internally, externally he becomes unstoppable. Not perfect, but dangerous, calm, focused, capable, purpose driven. And that is rare today. Very rare. Which is exactly why it matters. So remember this carefully. The man you could have been is watching you every single day, watching your habits, watching your excuses, watching your discipline, watching your decisions. And one day, you will either meet him with pride or with regret. Choose wisely. Among monsters and beasts, I was never meant to blend in. I was born to rule. I am DKing Saad, and this was the DKing Combat Podcast.